Welcome. I'm playing with some different kinds of episodes, and this episode is going to be a little different. Instead of doing an interview or a mastermind, what I'm going to be doing is actually telling you about something I've been using ChatGPT and Bard and a bunch of other tools for.
Welcome to the Prompt Engineering Podcast, where we teach you the art of writing effective prompts for AI systems like ChatGPT, Midjourney, DALL-E, and more. Here's your host, Greg Schwartz.
First place to start is a little bit of backstory. So back in 2019, my mom fell down a flight of stairs and broke her neck. And fortunately, she was never paralyzed, but I ended up moving from San Francisco, where I previously lived, to San Diego to be able to help her. So the reason I bring this up is she is looking for work, and that can be a little challenging for a couple of reasons. One is the neck injury. She has mostly recovered from that, so she can drive, but she can only lift 5 or 10 pounds. And she's a very outgoing person. And so a lot of the stuff that would make a lot of sense typically for someone with her personality, say sales, is a little more challenging for her because she can't work most normal retail jobs, because most normal retail jobs require you to lift 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds. Second challenge is, unfortunately, she never finished her college degree. For the past few years, what she's done is she's worked as basically a home health aide, helping people with their medication and getting them to eat if they have a hard time eating, or even cooking for them if need be. The challenge, though, is as her clients get older or their health declines, she loses a client. She only works with one at a time, so it's not the most stable. Not surprisingly, I'd like to help my mom have a more stable career in life. So I've been thinking, all right, maybe there's some certifications that I could find that she could go get and then be able to get a job that's more stable. So naturally, I turned to ChatGPT and I said, act as a career counselor and executive coach with 20 years of experience. Your client is a 67-year-old woman without a college degree living in San Diego. She is outgoing, sociable, but unable to work 8 hours a day due to a neck injury. She's previously been a salesperson at Chico's, but struggled with the political battles in the store. Suggest 15 certifications or trainings that could lead to a pleasant career for the remainder of her life, including links to organizations offering certification, job posting, and salary estimation. I tried using it with browsing, and maybe it was just that day, but for whatever reason, I ran it 3 times, and each time it would just crash. So I would hit regenerate, and it would then sometimes give me answers, but often it would just get stuck trying to load links. So browse has usually worked fairly well for me, but on this prompt, it really did not. So I turned off browse and just went with this. It gave some interesting suggestions. It said life coach, real estate agent, which is something we've actually talked about before. A bunch of other stuff, virtual assistant, mediator, genealogist, which was actually an interesting one because she's very into genealogy, and customer service and that kind of thing. And I said, okay, yoga and some of these others that are fitness related aren't really a good fit for her with the neck injury. So I said, another 15, please. Nothing fitness related. Gave me more. And most of these were not great. I'm scrolling through them if you're watching the video. And so then I said, okay, give me more ideas. And then it did, but it started drifting. So for example, it said, how about a certified spiritual counselor or a certified etiquette consultant and a bunch of other things that I went, I'm not sure that's a real certification. Nothing against those jobs. It just didn't sound like an actual certification from the way it was describing, particularly certified travel writer and photographer, which is from some company called Great Escape Publishing. I'm not entirely sure I believe that's a certification. So anyway, I kept going, and what I noticed is it just drifted. I should mention also, she really likes cooking and baking and that kind of thing. So I said, hey, what about stuff that involves food? And it just went off the wall. It started giving all these certifications that, I don't think these exist. Particularly certified barbecue judge. Really? I don't know about that. But anyway, tried to narrow it down. And what I started noticing is each time I would say, give me more ideas, it started recycling them. For example, in the first response, it suggested mediator. And again, here is a suggestion for mediators. And some other ones repeated as well. So eventually it was really starting to repeat itself. So then what I tried was more ideas that you haven't suggested yet, which, if you understand how context windows work, unsurprisingly didn't work. So just to be clear, the context window is the memory of the conversation that ChatGPT has. And part of the challenge is, even though it's still on screen for you in the ChatGPT interface, it won't remember after a certain number of messages, especially when it's outputting a lot of text or you're inputting a lot of text. And so obviously the context window had gotten so far that even the things that it had previously suggested had fallen out. At this point, I said, more ideas that you haven't suggested yet. And it said, here are additional certifications she might consider that were completely just off the wall and strange and repetitive. Travel agent was something that had already come up. Personal stylist had already come up. Interior decorator had already come up. So many of these things, it just clearly wasn't keeping track. So I finally said, this isn't really working quite as well as I hoped. So let me give it some more constraints. How about more ideas that don't involve fitness, programming, UX, graphic design, manual labor, or pets? And it still wasn't doing great, at least did that. But now it's giving totally off the wall stuff like a certified mindfulness instructor, which I like mindfulness, but I'm not sure there's an actual certification for that. And a bunch of others that, again, just weren't really fitting. So what I finally started doing was I just completely copy and pasted everything out of here and pulled out all of the job titles that it had listed so far. And so then I gave it the exact same prompt, act as a career counselor, etc. And then do not include any of the following jobs: life coach, real estate agent, personal stylist, blah, 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 blah. You can see it's quite a long list. And that partly worked. It did a decent job of giving a few more suggestions. Master beekeeper was actually one that would be fun, but isn't really very relevant to San Diego. But it was definitely one that made her go, ooh, that could be fun. Kept going through, more ideas. Most of these were not great. So then I finally just said, all right, grab all of that again, run it again. So that helped. It definitely continued to be a little on the repetitive side. So again, as you can see, as I just keep scrolling, I kept giving it that prompt again with an even longer list of things not to include. So finally I said, okay, I think I've mined ChatGPT of as much as possible. And then I went, there is another spot. Let's go check one of the auto GPTs and see if they can come up with anything. So I tried God mode, which by the way is godmode.space. Not that I would recommend it. I have not had it work any of the times I've tried it. And unfortunately, this is another example of when it just totally failed. So I gave it the original prompt. It literally ran as its first action to not take an action. I don't know what to make of that. That's silly, but that's what it did. And then it said, oh, okay, great. Let's go search for sales and customer service careers. And then it spent so many cycles trying to retrieve job posts from Indeed and failing and retrying. And okay, let's try it again. And okay, let's just go search again. And ultimately, it was basically useless. So here's the results that it came up with. And needless to say, this is not a particularly helpful list. It's customer service representative, customer sales and service representative, customer service representative, entry-level sales, and B2B sales. I was not looking for 5, 3 of which are the exact same thing. So yeah, God mode, a fail. But then I thought, oh, Bard has access to the internet, so let's go try Bard. And it wasn't great. Same suggestion of customer service, administrative assistant, bookkeeper, web developer, graphic designer. And then I said, okay, more ideas. It said, great, here are some more ideas for certifications or trainings that blah, 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 blah. Customer service representative, administrative assistant, bookkeeper. It's all the same list. Now, since it's a much more concise list, it gave me more, but It says more ideas for certifications or trainings, and it's coming up with tour guide, dog walker, babysitter, house cleaner, personal shopper, and volunteer. Okay, obviously, volunteer is not something you get certified for as a career. So just completely a fail. But the other ones aren't things you get certified for either. So it was just kind of, okay, Bard, did you not understand what I was saying? But sure, let's give it one more shot. Give me some more ideas. And again, it just wanders off. Volunteer comes up as a suggestion the third time. Tutor, house cleaner, dog walker. Bard is not paying attention to the prompt, which again, let me scroll back up, mentioned that she has a neck injury, and it just tossed that out. I did bring up, what about food related stuff? Because she's a talented cook and a baker, and it just gave a bunch of jobs. There wasn't anything about these are certifications, these are jobs that require certifications. There was nothing about that at all. So finally, I tried reprompting it with the same prompt again, but just to try and get it back to, are there certifications that would be relevant here? And it just completely lost the thread. At that point, it starts suggesting personal shoppers, which there's no certification for that. Life coaching, there are certifications for that, but they aren't particularly helpful. Grief counselor, and just so many things. It had so clearly lost the thread that I finally just gave up. Oh yes, it also suggested being a podcaster or a YouTuber, and there are absolutely certifications for that. If you can't tell I'm being sarcastic, I am. So then I tried Bing and was hoping it would be a little better because it does definitely do a good job of searching for things. It didn't do a great job, but let's walk through it. So I gave it the same prompt. And it gave an interesting, I'm sorry to hear about her neck injury. There are many sales opportunities available. All right, great, thanks. I should note this is basing the search off of certifications for sales jobs without college degree, which was an interesting leap for it to take. So then it says advertising sales, real estate broker, insurance sales, retail sales. Yeah, okay, some of those have certifications, most of them do not. Gave some links around organizations that provide the certifications and that kind of thing. I said, all right, that's not super helpful. More ideas. And it then said, all right, I'll search for jobs for outgoing sociable people with neck injury. Totally lost the certification concept. And the results, exactly the same as everything else has suggested, except for God mode. Customer service, social media, event planner, travel agent, writer, virtual assistant, graphic designer, web developer, blah, blah, blah. Interestingly, then it said, here's a list of jobs that are available for people with chronic pain that offer schedule flexibility or minimal physical demands, and listed them off, most of which were the same jobs of writer, editor, graphic designer, etc. But it was an interesting idea. I then said, all right, let me try and guide it a little more. More ideas given that she doesn't have a college degree. So now it says, okay, I'm searching for jobs for outgoing sociable people without a college degree. And again, it's giving me almost all the same results. So once again, there's a big difference in quality that I notice where ChatGPT, at least for a certain amount of time, keeps the context window pretty large. So this is another example of how I have seen that ChatGPT so far is getting by far the best results. Bing and Bard both give a lot of duplicate results, even just one reply later. In this response, it's suggesting customer service, social media, travel, writer, virtual assistant, and graphic designer. And then when I say more, it just tells me a bunch of the same things. Really surprisingly poor results from both Bing and Bard. I was genuinely expecting at least one of them would do better. So all in all, ChatGPT is by far the winner, by far the best results. Honestly, shockingly, how much better, especially shockingly because I wasn't that happy with the results from ChatGPT until I went to the other ones and thought, this is really bad. This is amazingly bad. I can't even believe how bad this is. All in all, I took everything from ChatGPT, threw away most of the rest of it because honestly, all of the others gave me the same information. Put all of that into a nice Google Doc and showed it to my mom, walked her through it. She thought it was some interesting ideas, so she's exploring some of these concepts now. So all in all, if you're doing this kind of brainstorming, and there's a little bit of research involved, but it's mostly brainstorming, ChatGPT, particularly GPT-4, is still your best bet. Bing and Bard, as nice as it is that they have access to the internet, their ability to remember the conversation is much worse. And so for this kind of brainstorming and research, it just doesn't work very well. Your mileage may vary. Every time I've tried Bard and Bing, the results have been pretty mediocre. It just doesn't remember the rest of the conversation to give you new information. It just keeps giving you the same information in Bing each time you ask, and the same information in Bard each time you ask. I'm told Bard is better for code generation. Haven't tested it yet. Maybe that'll be next week. In the meantime, I'm going to be launching my course next week. So if you'd like to give me some beta feedback on an early version of it for a nice discount, I would love the feedback because I want to make it as good as possible for all of you. So if that would be of interest, please either comment below or send me an email. Talk to you soon. Thanks for coming to the Prompt Engineering Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping you be a better prompt engineer. I also host weekly masterminds where you can collaborate with me and 50 other people live on Zoom to improve your prompts. Join us at promptengineeringmastermind.com for the schedule of the upcoming masterminds. Finally, please remember to like and subscribe.